Today we're gonna remake Daisies by Justin Bieber, and it's gonna sound like this. Alright guys, my name is Badhabit. Today we're gonna break down and remake Daisies by Justin Bieber, the first single from Justin's new album, which sounds like nothing we've ever heard from Justin Bieber. The album is getting mixed reviews, but whether you like it or not, there is so much to learn from these productions. The production in Daisies sounds so simple, but I can assure you it's not, because it's a completely new sound for Justin thanks to the amazing producers behind it, including Carlet Lang, which is also Caesar's producer, and of course Mk.gee, an amazing artist that brought his own sound to this song. There are not many elements, but they're using so many little techniques to make the song stand out that I'm pretty sure you haven't noticed. Today we're gonna go through all of them so you can apply them to your own productions and upgrade them from average to pro. I want to start from the drums because even though the song is based around guitar, having the drums down is going to help us a lot playing the guitar with the right feeling and the right intention. These drums sound like they're a blend of live drums and some samples to make them pop a little bit more. Vinyl, kicks and snare on top of live real drums. So we need to find some samples, I think, in this world. Something like this, you know, a little roomy that already gives me the feeling of live drums, but starting from samples to have that knock from the get-go. But I want to pitch this down. It feels like it's tuned too high, like -4. Yeah, this is so much better already, but there's a plugin that I've been using a lot lately with these kind of drums especially, which is Torque by Waves. And with this plugin, you select the frequency that you want to affect and you can basically retune that frequency. Can you hear this? So this can be a game changer, both for kicks and snares. When you want to add some body, or maybe you want to enhance a very specific note, the threshold is gonna determine the strength of the effect. You know, if I put it back to 0, this is without. And now that I hear this without it, it feels like the kick doesn't have any body, you know? But oh my God, listen to this. But let's go for some more layers to add on top of this, because I feel like this is not enough on its own. I'm gonna go back to this Dylan inspired pack that I have here because I loved so many of these kicks, like this one, for example. Now we need something that has a little bit more knock. I wanna start putting some of these kicks in a drum rack. This is pretty good. Oh, this is also helpful, like a totally different kick, but it helps. Also adding a little bit of that dirt, that grit that definitely is very present in this song. Okay, so I made some changes to these kicks and now together they sound like this. Of course, I need to find the perfect balance. One thing I did, which I think is a very cool tip, and you should try this too. When you have a sound that you really want to keep in the layer because you like the sound of that sample, but for whatever reason, it's maybe like too aggressive. Like in this case, I had this one, which was a little bit too aggressive. And so as you can see, I changed the starting position of the sample and also added a little bit of fade in just to make sure that the attack was not incredibly powerful, because what's happening here is that we're layering 4 different samples. So you cannot keep the attack of all of them. So it doesn't feel like too much now. It actually feels like a real bass drum, but at the same time, it has that punch and knock of modern samples. I just want to make sure that I also add some compression, because here we're layering 3 different samples, so we want to bring them all together. Something like this I think is enough, like between 3 and 6 dBs of compression. And of course, as you can see, I also added back a little bit of low end, which you're gonna lose when you compress. I'm happy with what I'm hearing now. Oh, now I like how they sound together. Wow. Okay, so we have this layer of kicks, which sounds very, very good to me. So we can now move on to the snare. And the snare to me sounds like there's definitely some sort of drum machine snare layer, something like a Lindrum, but processed. Like one of these is probably gonna work. I think I'm gonna start from this one. It's probably tuned a little bit too low now. So maybe 3, 4. I also like that by tuning it higher, it's getting a little bit shorter, because in these drums, I feel like the snare, it's pretty tight, you know? And as you can see, guys, the sample is not starting exactly at the beginning here. If you listen carefully, you're gonna notice a little bit of flamming between the kick and the snare, right? But it's something that I've actually noticed in the actual song. So even though I picked this sample randomly, I think this is a sign that we're on the right path here, because that's definitely something that I would have added. So maybe we can reduce it a little bit, but we want to make sure not to get rid of it, because it's really evident in the song. And see, this might look like a little detail to you, but it's actually very important because even though we have a drum machine snare, so something that can be programmed and that should always be exactly on the grid, by doing it this way, they immediately give us the feeling of a live drummer playing, which is never going to be exactly on the grid, you know? And one more trick to enhance this live feeling and humanize these drums even more, we can add a little bit of LFO affecting the pitch of the snare. So every time it hits, it's going to be tuned slightly differently, because whenever a drummer hits the snare, depending on where they hit it and how strong they hit it, the tuning is never going to be exactly the same. And so we can kind of replicate that effect by like even just 11, 12 on the pitch. Let me make it very obvious so you can hear it. This is insane. Of course, we don't want that, but like even 10, 11%, something like that should be enough. And a little bit of drive, which again in this song I think it's so essential. But listening back to the actual song, I feel like the snare is missing two things now. It feels like it needs a little bit more top end, and also we're missing the acoustic part of the snare. So for adding some high end to the snare, instead of doing it with the EQ, which is definitely gonna change the sound of our snare a lot. Pro tip, what I usually do instead is layering more snares, but snares that are a little bit more noisy. So I'm not looking to find similar snares to the one that we already have. I'm looking to find snares that maybe don't even sound that good on their own, but that can cover that spectrum of frequency that I need. So I have Machine open here because I found 3 samples that don't sound very good on their own. Like if I play you these 3 together, like this is pretty terrible. But you can immediately hear how these snares together create this very like noisy, raw top end. So now when I play them together, you can immediately hear the difference, because if I mute this, that's what we had before, you know? So whenever you need to add some presence to your snares, you can do the same thing that I just did, or you can layer some actual white noise on top of your snare. That's gonna help a lot as well. But now we're still missing the acoustic part of the snare, that live feeling that we were able to bring to the kick. We need to bring it also to the snare. And I actually found this snare inside Addictive Drums, which I really loved, and I had to like tweak a few things. I also added a little bit of EQ to the main note of the snare to really define it. I was also looking in this folder, and so I found like some of these are really cool. I just want a little touch of this in the background so that if you listen carefully, you're like, oh, okay, these are actually real drums then, and they're not. And guys, one quick mixing tip: whenever you have so many layers like we do now, make sure to take out some frequencies and make room for each layer. So for example, in this acoustic one, I removed a little bit of this, and maybe I can go even a little bit harder on this because we have these noisy ones, you know, these are already covering that area. And so by doing this, I created more space for those noisy snares to shine, you know, without the high end becoming too much. Okay, so after all this layering, now the drums sound like this, and I'm so happy about the way they're sounding. And if you haven't noticed, I also very quickly added one more layer, which is taking care of the room, because after adding the snare, I kind of had the feeling like we didn't have enough of that living room vibe, you know, and I really wanted to make sure that you could feel that. And so I just added 2 roomy layers, and I used this plugin mid-side to make sure that these were taking care mostly of the sides. The rest of the kick is mono, and so it's hitting right there in the middle, but I wanted to add the room feeling, you know, and so that's why I enhanced the sides a little bit. So if you listen to the kicks now, you can hear the room a little bit more. And as you've probably noticed, going towards the chorus, some hi-hats start coming in, played harder and harder. And we're gonna come back to it later when we have the structure laid down. But there's one more thing that I wanna do to make these drums sound even more raw, even more live. We need a little bit of reverb, gated reverb to be exact, like a small ambience, you know? So like okay, this sounds more like it. It's just, you know, bringing the drums in something like a living room, you know? A small ambience gives it a little bit more of that live feeling, love it. And I don't want this reverb to really affect the low end much, so I don't want a lot of kick going into the reverb, and so that's why I put this EQ before. And we're gonna go back to processing the drum bus later in the video. All right, now with these drums down, we can finally break down the guitar, which is one of the most exciting things of this song, and you'll find out why in a second. It's not because of the chords, because the chords are actually pretty simple. Basically, we have this A flat going into this F minor, and then we have this D flat, and then E flat. It's just these 4 chords, and then we have a little section where they go like this in verse 2. You know? But that's basically it. But it's the way these chords are played on the guitar which makes it really special, because first of all, they have not used a regular guitar to play this. When you listen carefully, you realize that's actually a baritone guitar, which is something that Mk.gee uses all the time in his own songs. But the thing is, I don't have a baritone guitar. I have this Stratocaster, and I also tried this Telecaster, and initially none of these were sounding good enough for the sound that we needed, but after trying so many options, I actually made it. I saved this preset here so I didn't lose it. I was actually able to make this sound like a baritone guitar, and listen to this, like we immediately get that Mk.gee vibe. So let's record the main guitar part, and then I'll show you how I got this sound. Okay. Come on. Oh yeah, okay. As you can see guys, I'm breaking it down chord by chord, because some of these chords are played in such crazy positions, at least for me. Like these positions kind of remind me Every Breath You Take by The Police, which of course are a huge influence on Mk.gee's style. And I'm not a great guitarist, I'm just not fast enough to, you know, go from this position to like another crazy position. And so I have to record one chord at a time. And I know that if I play it with the right feeling, with the right intention, and then I comp it together, it's gonna sound like I played it only one take. So guys, I know I keep telling you this, but even if you're not a great player, whether it's piano, whether it's guitar, just play and then put it together, because you won't get this kind of result and this uniqueness by using a plugin. Yeah, so as you can see, when I do this, I record one chord, one lick at a time, and then I have 2 separate tracks, one where I only record, and another one where I bring down whatever I just recorded, if it feels good enough. This way, I start to have something that, okay, feels pretty good. Oh, come on. All right, guys, I'm gonna have to cut down here because as you can see, at take 120 at the moment. This is getting a little bit crazy, you know, to get all of the parts right, but I'm very picky and the feeling and intention here need to be perfect. So I'll see you when I'm done. Okay, I finally got this. I think now I have to just comb some things together, make sure the fades are all perfect, that the timing feels good. And 20 minutes later, here we are. This was quite a challenge because as you can see from the colors that I assigned to these sections, the guitar never plays exactly the same thing. So basically we have this intro section, which sounds like this, okay? And the pattern is not the same as what happens here. This changes. This is like more arpeggiated, you know? And it kind of repeats again here, as you can see the yellow. And then we go into another section, which is kind of a blend of the intro and this yellow part. This one. Then we go into the chorus, which I actually forgot to record, but that's actually easy. The chorus is the easy part. So I'm going to record it real quick now. Pensavo di aver finito, invece. Okay, now it sounds great. if you guys like the way I produce and the way I make my tracks sound, I've put together 2 classes, one for music production and one for mixing and mastering. Overall, it's 18 hours of me in the studio just teaching you everything that I know. Of course, much more in detail compared to what I can do here in a YouTube video. My classes have already helped over 1,000 students. You can be the next one. So if you really want to step up your game as a producer, make sure to check them both out. Both of the classes are linked down in the description. So let's talk about the guitar sound. Here's the actual chain. Everything starts from this plugin, which actually I've never tried before, but I was trying so many options. I actually downloaded this plugin just for this video and it worked out. I started from this preset called Clean Bass. I probably have tweaked some things, so I'm going to show you the pages quickly. If you want to copy the settings, you can. These are my current settings, but the magic is happening here with this transpose knob. So while I was learning the song, I watched some tutorials on YouTube of people that were saying that you have to tune your guitar down if you don't have a baritone guitar, but that actually didn't work out great for me. Like, yes, you can play it that way, but the sound that I got from that was actually not close to the actual song at all. I thought, why don't I try just to keep my guitar in regular tuning, but then transposing it down? And this plugin somehow, even when you transpose, it keeps the guitar sounding like so good, you know, but it makes it so much fuller. And now it's sounding basically like a baritone guitar. But I actually did some more things. It's not only this plugin. A big part of this sound is also here in this FabFilter Pro Q3. To get this sound, I really needed to remove some specific frequencies. So this, for example, we don't need any of this. This is what makes this sound like a regular guitar. So, nope. Same for this. Baritone guitar, nah, no high end. And then we go into this EQ. This is basically an emulation of the Pultec. I've been loving this one, guys. If you haven't tried this one here from IK Multimedia, I really encourage you guys to try it. Again, all of the plugins that I use in my videos are linked in the description, so you can find this. And this worked out amazing for this guitar because without it, listen, it still sounds a little bit too much like a guitar for me. I needed that body, you know, that fullness that we get from the baritone guitar. So I really boosted the low end here, you know, 100. And to finish the chain here, we have a little bonus, but something that to me is really crucial for this sound. This is a technique that Mk.gee uses all the time on his guitars. A simple gated reverb, but I also put an actual gate before the reverb. So this is preventing the reverb to play if I'm playing the guitar soft. But when I'm hitting the guitar harder, the gate is going to open and the reverb is going to kick in. Look at this. Soft, basically no reverb, but then you can really hear the reverb kicking in when here I'm playing harder. And this is such a cool technique. It puts the guitar in a little room, in a little ambience, but you don't really hear that ambience all the time. Sometimes the reverb kicks in and you're like, oh my God, what did just happen? Oh, I love this. Okay, we're now ready to move on to the bass. But before we do that, I just want to show you a couple of things that I did real quick to make this guitar feel like I really played it all in one take. I noticed that in some sections, there were some harmonics, and I'm not that good on guitar to play it all in one take and also play those harmonics. Something like this, you know? And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna record them themselves. And when I layer it with the rest, you know, because that's something that you can really notice in their guitar. And one more thing that I did, sometimes it felt like, even though they're picking the guitar with the fingers, they're definitely not using the pick for this song, but sometimes they're kind of picking hard. And so I was like, okay, let me add some picking effect, you know? So, and now it's very subtle, but it feels like I was actually picking a little bit harder. Little things that make a difference, like they add up. I just need to add a very quick bass to the chorus because we don't only have the guitar here, but also the bass. And guys, if you haven't noticed, this is the bass. I know it's the same color as my guitar, but this is the bass. 4 strings. Can you see the difference? You know, sometimes like my girlfriend cannot tell the difference between this and the guitar, so. And And for this bass, I just recorded it very clean and I added a little bit of grit with this decapitator, you know, some drive. That's the feeling of the whole song. And so then I went for some compression. I just started from this preset. I just wanted to make sure that the bass is consistent. And again, a little bit of help on that low end, 60 hertz. Yeah, okay. Sounding amazing. This is really making a difference now because it's the chorus and it needs to sound bigger, like something is changing, you know? And there's one element in the chorus that I'm pretty sure most of you guys have never noticed before. I'm talking about a little organ, and it's playing something like this. Of course, very quiet in the mix. And we need to make some sort of like automation because in the beginning, you can barely hear it. And then you start to hear it like from here. Just added a little bit of reverb and that's it. Very cool. Okay guys, we're almost ready to process the drum bus, but before we do this, I want to show you real quick a couple of things that I added. To increase the energy even more, I have the feeling like in the chorus, they might have added one more snare, like a bigger sounding snare, a simple snare. Again, I used torque because this was sounding like this before. That's what I needed to add, like even if I keep it quite low in the mix, but you can definitely hear without it. You know, and for the same reason, I took the same guitar part that I played for the chorus, so this one, and I just copy pasted the same part, but I use a different sound this time, like really driving the hell out of this guitar. These are all the guitars at the same time, but if I mute it, right? So yeah, it's in the background, but yeah, like this grungy feeling. And you know I'm a fan of ear candies, and so I couldn't resist. I added this little thing because from the very beginning of the song, when I hear the guitar, I always had the feeling like there's a lot of noise coming from the amp. And so since I didn't have that much noise in my guitar, I actually added it in post, again, to give this song a feeling of really like a raw recording where nobody was really paying too much attention about keeping things clean. Actually, quite the opposite. And so I added this, you know, which is just some amp noise. So I just thought, why don't I do the same thing for the drums? Like adding a little bit of that room to the drums, but artificially, like this, not with a reverb, just with like some room tone. Niente, mi muore il mouse anche. Chi cazzo mette la carica qua sotto perché non può lavorare? Guarda, è una roba incredibile. So I found this room tone, and with a gate, now look at what I do. I just take as an input the drums, like the whole group. This way, every time the drums play, the gate opens and it lets through some of this room tone. Now you can, it's of course like very loud, but I just wanted you to notice the difference. Wow, I love this. I love to use these little tricks. I was about to forget one of the most important things about this song, which is the hi-hats, because the hi-hats start coming in as we go towards the chorus to increase the energy, and we don't have those yet. I think this one is pretty cool. You know, stuff like this. Yeah, and in the chorus we have this open hi-hat and just a bunch of toms that I added here, you know? Nothing crazy. Oh, sounding so good. I love this. Okay, so I gotta say, I'm very happy with the drums. I just need to add a touch more of dirt, a touch more of maybe like saturation, maybe even a little bit more of compression. I want to start from a plugin that I don't use much lately. I'm going to turn down most of these things, but I think I want to keep some distortion from this because I usually like the way it sounds, and especially some noise. Oh, okay. I don't know if I want to keep this or Vinyl 2, which is usually the one that I like the most. Let's add some distortion. I like this one. nice. I love how this is helping the kick. And now I want to add this plugin for a little bit of this, you know, tape feeling. I know for a fact that Mk.gee is recording most of his guitars into a Tascam, you know, so I don't know, maybe they've done something similar for the drums. I usually like to play with this, you know. This is definitely not what we need for this song, because this song doesn't sound too aggressive, but we need that grit, that dirt that the tape is gonna give us. Some little adjustments. And then I just wanted to bring all of these drums a little bit more together, and so I added this compressor, which is emulating the Fairchild, an amazing compressor that really gives you that vintage raw feeling that I was looking for here. And just some clipping at the end, and yeah, and here we have it. It's sounding insane. I love it. Oh my god. I really love how this came out. Amazing. Alright guys, we got to the end of this amazing breakdown of this great production. I think there was so much to learn from this song, even though it sounds simple, but as you can see, it actually wasn't. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a comment below, let me know what you think, and let me know if you have any requests for future songs that you want me to break down. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.